Hello, dear friends. It's Dr. Sarah. Now, if you've been following my blog for a while, you will know that recently I have been raising awareness on the caveats of placing excessive attention on, quote, clean eating and, quote, purifying the body. Specifically, we've been exploring how diet culture messages are getting mixed into these specific wellness practices, and it's actually causing harm to our health. Unfortunately, many are not aware of the dangers that can result on how we are approaching these topics. And when we become obsessively preoccupied with correct eating and looking at advocating for expensive protocols to purify, detoxify, and cleanse the body, we can run into trouble. And I highlighted some of the main concerns that I have, and these include the economic strain to remove chemicals in consumer goods can result in higher prices for all. And this is especially relevant for the economically disadvantaged who are already being affected by health anxiety because they can't afford these costly protocols that many influencers are advocating for. There's also an increase in food morality, which labels food as good or bad and bases people's moral character on how healthy they are, a concept known as healthism. And then finally, when taken to the extreme, this can result in fueling eating disorders and eating disordered behaviors. Now, in the last video blog, I focused even more on the connection between food morality, eating disorders, and diet culture. If you missed that, as a little bit of a review, what we covered was how diet culture damages our relationship to our bodies and food, how purifying our life can lead to an unhealthy preoccupation with, quote, clean eating, how obsession with dietary cleanliness can result in a deadly mental health disorder, and the link between, quote, food addiction and restrictive dieting practices, and how to be healthy in a toxic world without giving into diet culture. Because we can still support the body's natural elimination processes and also teach people how to keep their bodies healthy and happy without excessively giving into diet culture. And I want to highlight more of the detrimental impacts of diet culture's emphasis on food purity and what happens when we idealize the slim body over all other aspects of wellness. So, what we're going to discuss today is the damage of body size stigma, the harm of shaming people into better health, how fat phobia leads to suboptimal healthcare, a lurking variable in, quote, obesity research, why society's obsession with thinness is killing us, and a true picture of health. Now, as always, all the references, the links, and past blogs and articles will be linked within the accompanying post and in the resource section. Now, also as a disclaimer, I will be using the word fat as an adjective, and this just describes those in larger bodies. It's actually now considered a neutral term. It's just a descriptive word for body size, similar to how thin depicts smaller bodies. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First, let's talk about body size stigma and fat phobia. Now, diet culture and resulting food morality is, as we talked about before, fueling eating disorders and disordered eating patterns. It's also leading to an increase in weight stigma and what we call fat phobia. Now, unfortunately, our culture feels it's widely acceptable to treat those in larger bodies as inferior. As a result, many people have become enslaved to their scales and what they eat, being terrified to put on any weight. According to Texas A&M sociology professor Joan Wolfe, she states there's almost a universal agreement that fat is bad. She says that we have a whole health industry that is set up around making people thinner, which is true. We have a self-help industry with scientists and doctors who are devoted to the message that everybody should lose weight. Because we think it's all under our control, we judge people who are fat and we think they are lazy and that their character is somehow represented by the fact that they carry more body weight. Concerningly, many people also believe that shaming and, quote, pointing out the obvious is a helpful strategy to motivate weight loss in fat people. Often, these cruel words are spewed by privileged celebrities or influencers who have never inhabited larger bodies. They have no idea what it is like to navigate the world as such. And disclaimer, I do myself have thin privilege, but I am aware of these prejudice and how it impacts others. Now, just as aversive strategies to discipline children are not effective in producing desired outcomes, shaming people to lose weight or stick to restrictive lifestyle protocols isn't either. There's evidence that shows that using punitive parental strategies to children backfire, leading to increased risks for mental, emotional, and physical disorders. Similarly, the belief held by many doctors that fat people need to lose weight as the priority to their overall health outcomes has become ineffective, and it's a bullying scapegoat diagnostic strategy in medicine. It also leads to those in larger bodies to receive suboptimal healthcare and poorer health outcomes. So, why do I call this scapegoating as using weight as a cause for disease? Let me explain a little bit more. Now, many people believe that body size is a strong indicator of health, and it's quite popular and prevalent in healthcare profession. Now, let me say there are a lot of associations with larger bodies and health issues, but again, we're going to talk about some of those lurking variables. It's led to a social and medically acceptable form of stigmatization on body physiques, what I just mentioned. But rather than giving proper standard of care to all people, many people in bigger bodies are shamed and viewed as lazy by their physician. Larger patients are told by their doctors to lose weight through diet and exercise to treat everything from arthritis to cancer, oftentimes without evaluating additional factors or offering additional suggestions. Yet there are many reasons for body shape diversity, with few having to do with food intake. Importantly, an individual's health risks and body size are based on a variety of interrelated genetic, environmental, emotional, societal, and influential lifestyle factors. Furthermore, a specific body weight range is neither necessary nor sufficient to create vast majority of diseases. All bodies can become ill of any disease at any time. All aspects of health need to be considered in all standard of care treatments. Yet, those who do not fall within the deemed normal weight range often do not have many of these areas fully addressed. As a result, they are receiving suboptimal care. Instead of digging deeper into causative factors of diseases and receiving the lifestyle or medical interventions given to those in smaller bodies, fat people are often prescribed excessively restrictive diets and heavy workouts to fix their major health concern. I probably don't need to tell you, but diagnosing and treatment based strictly on appearances have very dangerous consequences. So, besides the fact that there's suboptimal care in larger body sizes, creating some of the probably associations we see with, quote, obesity research, we also need to look at another lurking variable hidden in the science of obesity research. And this is the impacts of this form of body size prejudice and how it impacts our physiology. Specifically, these types of prejudice actually raise the same inflammatory markers that are blamed on obesity themselves. And for your doctors, I'm talking interleukin 6 and various cytokines and inflammatory mediators. Now, this dishonored population is also at a heightened risk for social and psychological harm and eating disordered behavior as a result of it. So, although obesity is now considered a disease itself based on the link between the size of one's waistline and poor health, we know that this shaming of bodies is one example of a lurking variable that isn't accounted for in associated studies, and it needs to be addressed. We also want to talk about how the societal obsession with thinness is harming everyone's health. Recently, I read an article that gave me goosebumps. The Science Daily actually summarized it, and the little summary stated that adolescents who perceive themselves as overweight are 3 times more likely to consider committing self-harm compared to those who don't. And this is regardless of whether the person is objectively overweight. This is a new study. So the obsessive focus on food and body size for societal and medical acceptance is not helping our health. It's only fueling our mental health crisis because eating disorders are the deadliest of all psychiatric illnesses. Diet culture messages on food morality, clean eating, worshiping the thin ideal are contributing to them. Even more concerning, more of the healthy behaviors that are advocated for by today's fitness influencers and maybe even some popular celebrity doctors could actually be classified as eating disordered behaviors by mental health specialists. So, taking this all in, and I know this is hard to digest because I am a naturopathic and functional medicine trained doctor, and I do believe that the food that we take into our body does have an impact of health. And I do believe in aiding the body's natural detoxification processes. But I also know from experience that diets and restrictive food practices fuel eating disordered behaviors and mental health issues. And I also know even if people get to the weight that they want to, they tend to not be happier. They tend to restrict relationships that could be healthy and happy. And they are miserable because their life is ruled by trying to stay within a different body size than what's meant for them. So, what do we do? What we can do is use integrative and holistic solutions to aid the body, the mind, the spirit, and heart to function at its best. And stay tuned. Keep following me if you're interested in how to do that without these diet culture messages, because I have a program coming up that'll do just that. And then healthcare practitioners and influencers should not be demonizing health choices or shaming people for how they look. We can discuss how healthy eating and lifestyle practices are part of the puzzle for better living, but we should also make it clear it's not the sole determinant or a moral compass of our character. Vitally, doctors need to provide the same care for all people of all body sizes. This is by addressing all root causes of disease and offering the same treatment to everyone. For example, thin people and fat people with diabetes should be treated with insulin support regardless of their weight. And we also know that all healthy behaviors can actually change physiology for the better regardless of body size. Lastly, I want to plug essential oils because, again, there are allies for any emotional upheaval that we may be experiencing, including if we're breaking free from diet culture messages. And it's brave to do that. Trust me, I will probably get kickback from this video, but I feel that it's important. You guys know I do focus on mental health a lot. Again, I think it's important to get the toxins out of our food supply, but I also feel that we have to be really careful in how we word how we're doing that and keep these caveats in mind. So I'd like to hear what you think, and please, constructive feedback is welcome. Please place your comments in the video blog or in the blog on my website. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to learn how to nourish and nurture your mind in a holistic way, supporting your body, heart, and soul. And I want to send you many blessings.